Week 2 of Walker Buehler on the Just Baseball show. We're stepping into his tasting room and dude, you have a wide variety of options here. What are we going with today, man?
Today on the Buehler tasting room, we're going with Weller 107. This is one of my favorites. This one's hot though. So for those who are a little uninitiated, that one's not a great starter, but it is one of my personal favorites.
For someone who's not really initiated into the bourbon scene, what do you mean by hot? That doesn't sound appetizing.
This one is called Antique 107. You can see the label there. So this one is 107 proof. So essentially what happens is the longer they're in there, essentially more and more water evaporates out of there. They call that the angel share. And so the proof goes up. So that one's pretty hot.
Okay, so that's one of the ones that you feel stinging in your sternum when you put it down the first time. It's this one's going to kick my ass. I get it. Yeah,
there's a few around here. Most of your normal bourbons will be around 100 proof or 90 to 100. That one's 107. There's some float around here that are 130.
Gotcha. So as I've matured as a bourbon drinker, so in college I used to not like dark liquor at all because I had a very unfortunate situation in college. I went shot for shot with my friends doing Jack Daniels, and I'll save you the graphics. Wasn't ideal. Flipping over poles, not ideal. Still felt it whenever I had Jack Daniels. I was like, this just feels like I'm going to vomit. But then as the years have progressed, I've become an old-fashioned guy. So I'm curious, as a bourbon savant, what's your favorite bourbon to put in an old-fashioned?
Personally, I'm a big fan of Buffalo Trace. That's kind of my normal go-to. Obviously, when you're making any sort of cocktail or an old-fashioned or something, you don't need to go and get the craziest Pappy or anything like that. So, stuff they would have at most bars. I think Buffalo Trace is probably my favorite for that kind of stuff.
Got you. So I've got a game that I got to do in 2 hours, so I'm not joining on the Weller thing right now. But I went with coffee. I figured I'd show you the bag of grounds, and I told you last week that you got to start giving me all the notes that you pick up. So this one is a sweet aroma with notes of chocolate, almond, and red wine, made from Brazil, Honduras, Mexico, and Colombia. So that's the kind of stuff I want from you when we get into the bourbon.
Right. We're gonna get there once we get this thing coordinated. Get you guys the certain bottles. We'll go a little deep dive on some of these things.
You know how Will Levis puts mayonnaise in his coffee?
Yep.
I'm sure bourbon in the coffee could do something for you, Jack. I mean, it'd make the game much more entertaining.
This is very true.
It's very true.
It's the Harry Carey special. Yeah. Hey, I want to talk to you. You're back in Lexington right now. You know, we typically talk to you when you're out on the West Coast, but you were back for the Kentucky Derby. Want to hit on that. Also got a chance to go golf with your dad, which is, super exciting. So we're going to get to that as well. Also, we're doing, best arms in Major League Baseball, your favorite arms to watch right now. But, first and foremost, man, you were at Churchill yesterday. Mage, what were you expecting there?
Big time. No, I had my money on Angel of Empire. Ran a valiant third, but not much. That didn't help me much. No tickets for me, but no Mage ran great, little small horse and ran huge. So it's such a cool event, man. It's crazy how many people they pack into that place for the Derby. I think it was 150,000 or something like that.
Yeah, 150,000 people. It sounds electric. I have a question too. Can you explain the Derby to me like I'm 5? Because I don't really know much about the horse racing, and all over social media, you see people picking their horses, and it becomes this enormous event. Explain to me like I'm 5. How do you go about picking a horse? Because I truly have no idea.
Okay, so a typical horse race is 8 or 10 horses, right? The Kentucky Derby, they ran 20 yesterday, which is pretty normal for the Derby. It's the biggest race in the world. Everyone who ever has owned a horse or even touched the horse business wants to win the Derby. That's winning the Masters in golf or a World Series. It's the thing. So it's for only 3-year-old horses, mostly male horses. Every once in a while, a big female horse will get in there and do well, but they're only allowed to run in the Derby once because they can only be 3 years old, for the 1 year. And it's the pinnacle of horse racing.
It's a who's who at Churchill too. So I need your top 3 like celebrity dap ups yesterday? Who did you get to interact with?
Yeah, I didn't meet a whole lot of people actually. We were coming in, we did like the red carpet thing, and we're sitting waiting in line and talked to Mark Ingram from the Saints. It was nice to meet him. And but we're sitting there, we're waiting, and Jack Harlow comes and they just move everyone away, and Jack walks right by all of us, goes straight in, and the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. So we were like sitting there waiting to go in the Derby. We're all excited, and there's like, hold on, there's important people coming. So Patrick Mahomes and Jack Harlow.
Right, like you're a big deal. If you ever think that you're a big deal, just get in the same room with Jack Harlow, right? And I'm sure you felt like, hey, who am I, man?
Right, you might as well be named Steve. It doesn't matter. But no, he's from Louisville, and that was pretty cool. I mean, I know he's probably a little bit more knowledgeable than the average Bear just because he grew up in Louisville. But they just steamrolled right by us.
So what I do know about horse racing is that the get-ups, the outfits that you wear to the Kentucky Derby are oftentimes a little over the top. And Jack is a weird fan of the Met Gala. I kind of want him to explain why, because we were texting about it, and he was like, I'm definitely tuning in tonight. I was like, do I even know you? Why do you like the Met Gala? But the Kentucky Derby, people are, wearing blue suits, and they're wearing their best outfit. Like, talking about the celebrities, was there anyone you ran into where you looked at them and you're like, whoa, you definitely went all out for this one?
I don't think anybody. I think just in general, like the stuff that you'll see people wear and like sort of pull off is kind of. I mean, I saw some guys yesterday with full floral suits, head to toe flowers, but with shorts instead of pants. You just see some wild stuff at the Derby.
What was Harlow wearing?
I think he was wearing a gray suit with some sort of black shirt, maybe. But he didn't lose himself in it. He did it well.
Yeah, I think way worse.
I think the Kim Mulkey special plays well there, right? You got the stuff working out sides and all that. You ever cross over with Kramer Robertson at all?
No of him. I think he was at LSU when I was at school. Little shortstop.
Got you. Hey, you also got home to golf, and we'll get to baseball here in a moment. Also want to talk about what you did with Fox last year, which was kind of your foray into broadcasting. But you got to golf with Pops, and you got to use some of the stuff that you've been outfit with in recent weeks, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so probably a month and a half ago, well, longer than that, a few months back, I called my dad. I was like, hey, I get to play my member guest this year. I'll never get to play until I retire, and we got to get you going. So we got him over to True Spec, which is this fitting place in Arizona that I go to and that helps me with my charity event. So we got him all set up, and we've been playing here and there when he gets to Arizona. And so yeah, I'm fired up to get the member guests going with him.
What's the best part of your golf game? Because personally, for me, I can hit the piss out of a driver. I can carve with my irons. And I'll be on the green for birdie, and I'll end up with a double bogey. I can't putt for shit. No matter what, I've always been a terrible putter. What's the best part of your golf game?
You and I are carbon copies. I cannot putt.
We're both athletes, right?
Save my life. I would like to say I'm one of the longer guys on our team that I've played with. I am probably one of the longer, but Will Smith is the longest guy I've ever played with. That guy
makes sense.
He absolutely kills a golf ball. So I can't even say I'm the best driver of the ball on my own team, but I do all right. I'm like a 7.5 handicap, so we do all right.
I mean, the setup is crazy from Smith. Like his setup in the box screams, I can drive the crap out of a golf ball.
Oh yeah. One of our college coaches used to always say, great hitters are strong from here to here. And it's not a crazy swing. It just he just kills the ball. I don't know.
Who's the best golfer on the Dodgers? And can I take a guess? And is it Mookie Betts? Because he's good at everything.
Mookie's pretty good. I think Mookie's like a 4 or 5 handicap. He's pretty.
Of course he is.
He's pretty impressive on a golf course. He's got a really, really good swing. I think he's actually done like some legitimate work trying to work on his golf swing, and you can tell.
Who's the worst?
Oh, I don't know. If you're gonna play, like if you're gonna go play on the road or something, like guys that are interested are usually pretty good. We used to do our fantasy football draft order based on a golf shot. And 2 years in a row, Belly sculled the shot, hit it off the stadium. So Cody's probably the worst I've seen trying to hit a golf ball.
Okay.
I can see him just slicing everything into the woods with just like the fastest swing in golf history and just try to hit the ball 400, but it goes 400 down into the woods.
Yeah, he swings hard. He swings hard, but he's not super accurate with the club face.
Not shocked by that.
I love it. Hey, Walker Buehler, let's get into your broadcasting experience, right? Because I know this was on our list last week with Arm and I. Talking about what you did at Fox last year, and you were, this is after you unfortunately went down. You went down 11 starts into last year, 10 starts. Yeah. So NLDS comes around, Dodgers, Padres. You get this opportunity with Fox to hop on the desk for pregame and postgame with Kevin Burkhardt, Poppy, A-Rod.
Yep. Frank Thomas and Dontrell was there.
Yeah. What was that like?
It was interesting, man. It was. First, it was kind of weird to be on that side of the whole thing. And especially I did the Dodger Padre game too. So like to be talking about guys that I play against and play with, it was just kind of an interesting experience, but I enjoyed it. They had to kind of kid glove treatment me a little bit though. I didn't know I had the Ricky Bobby. I didn't know what to do with my hands and stuff. So if you go back and look, they made me hold a baseball like right in front of me because I couldn't like figure out what to do with my hands. But other than that, I thought it went well. I obviously look back on it and wish I would have like done something different, but all in all, I felt pretty good about it.
I remember watching that Dodgers Padres series, and I remember you being pretty unbiased, even though, of course, you're on the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Right.
And arguably, the rival of the Dodgers is the Padres. Like, did you go in there with the mindset of I have to be completely unbiased, or was it just kind of natural the way it came out?
Yeah, I mean, I think being an active player, the biggest thing I think mentally is like I just didn't want to be negative towards anyone. So I think I just tried to like point out the positives in everybody in both teams and go at it that way. I didn't want to, make any enemies more than I already have being a player. So no, it went well. It was kind of an interesting experience and something that I'd like to do again. Hopefully not under the same circumstances. I'd obviously rather be playing, but no, kind of open my eyes a little bit to what else there is out there.
It's also like a different muscle group that you're working, right? Because typically when you're doing media, it's, hey, question and answer, media scrum, not the time or place, Michael, but you also got, your post-game stuff here too. And, that is, hey, what were you thinking in this moment, right? And you answer that. And we've seen Unfiltered Walker Buehler with the accidental F-bomb, which we love, like that's the favorite thing ever. But in that sense, there's probably way more structure to talking points than what you're accustomed to having, right? So obviously there's some freedom when you get into each talking point, like, hey, ball's in your court, go wherever you want with this, but this is the premise of what we got to talk about. What do you think about that structure when it came to working on that side of media?
Right. It was actually pretty cool. And I didn't realize how long a day that is, right? Like, to do this hour-long show, like we rehearsed the whole show before we did it. So we ran through the show like 3 times. So I really didn't understand that side of it, I guess, before I did it. Like, the game's at 7. They're like, hey, you need to be here at noon. And I was like, for what? Like, I don't want to sit there all day. But we got meetings, and then you go through and rehearse this thing. And it was actually pretty helpful, though. You go through it the first time, and they're like, hey, you're going to have to hold this baseball because your hands are going crazy. Say this, don't say that. And then kind of get a more cohesive show together, I guess. But I guess my biggest takeaway, I just didn't really understand how big of a production it was.
Dude, I keep laughing. Like, they made you hold a baseball because you didn't know what to do with your hands.
Yeah, I think at one point I went like cross-armed. It was not good.
So tying all that in together, I have a quick story for you. So tying in bourbon, tying in broadcast experience, and tying in being a little bit nervous. So Just Baseball, the company, started back in 2021. We started our TikTok channel. We started this podcast in 2021, and we were able to go to the All-Star game, and we put on like kind of a bar event just to like bring more people to know what Just Baseball is. And you were an All-Star back in 2021, and you ended up coming to the bar that we were at. And speaking about bourbon,
it gets better.
I
wasn't there, but it gets better.
I maybe had a couple, maybe more than a couple, maybe even more than that. And I see you there, and we hadn't really had on any players at that point because our podcast was so new. But we had gotten a little bit of a following on TikTok, so I'm feeling myself. I'm like, get anybody on the pod. That's Walker Buehler. I'm going to go up and ask him. And everyone's like, don't bother him. He's enjoying his time off. And I'm like, I've had 7 bourbons. I'm going to go ask him. So as you're leaving the bar, I go up to you and I'm like, hey, man, I'm Peter, as if you know who I am. And I was like, would you like to be on the Just Baseball show? And you were so nice. You were so respectful. But you kind of were like, yeah, get away from me, weirdo. So, and then your agent gave me his card, and I called the number. Nobody answered.
Perfect.
And then now this is just kind of a crazy moment. Then now you're a weekly guest on the Just Baseball show because I went up to you and I was like, please, Walker, be on the show. And you're like, get away from me. Like, I can smell you right now.
Oh, my God. These things happen, you know. I don't really recognize. My assumption is that I probably had a few as well.
Probably.
So I'm not really.
We're enjoying bourbon now on the same podcast. It's kind of cool.
Right. Exactly. Hey, do you get more people coming up to you in LA or when you're back home in Lexington?
LA for sure.
LA.
Lexington is just kind of a different place. It's like a town, or a small town. So people more know me just from growing up here, I think, than anything. Right. But LA here and there, it's not too bad.
Got you. All right. Hopping into baseball.
Okay.
What we want to talk about is, and we can frame it which any way you want. Is it your favorite arms to watch right now?
Yeah.
Guys you think are the best arms in baseball right now? Where do you want to go with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it being early in the year, I think the guys that are throwing the ball right now is probably the coolest thing. Obviously, we know DeGrom and Scherzer and these guys and Kirsch that are kind of well established, some of the greatest guys ever, but like a guy like Strider is throwing the ball incredible right now. Sonny Gray's had a great start to his season, and also a former Vandy guy, so a buddy of mine. But yeah, I think Sonny's probably one of my favorite people to watch right now. Just the way he's doing it differently than everyone else, right? Most guys now it's high spin fastballs, velocity, and hard breaking balls under, and he's kind of playing that X game on the outer third of the plate to righties and doing it as good as anyone.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question about Sonny Gray because I know you guys, I think, were teammates at the tail end of Sonny's career at Vanderbilt.
Yes, he got drafted in 2011, and my first year there was 13. So I missed him by 2 years. But the year that they went to Omaha, his junior year, was the first time Vandy had ever gone to Omaha, and that was my senior of high school, or no.
Junior.
That was my junior high school. So I had just committed to Vanderbilt and, was excited to go. And then that first year they went to Omaha and it was like, oh, I'm going to a big boy school. I didn't really realize how good these guys were.
Has he ever talked to you about his experience with the Yankees? Because he was one of baseball's best pitchers. Then he goes to the Yankees and struggles for a little bit, then leaves and is right back to being that excellent pitcher that he is. Yep. Has he ever kind of talked to you about that experience with the Yankees? Because some guys go there and absolutely thrive. Some guys go there and fall a little bit below expectations. And it's kind of just dependent on the player. I'm wondering if he's confided in you about that experience.
Yeah, I've talked to him here and there about it. Not super specifically. I know at that point in his career, he was really tinkering with kind of his pitch mix and stuff. So, you look at him early in his career, even in college, and then what he's doing now, pretty similar. He's got the little runner and a four-seamer as well with a lot of breaking balls. And I think in New York, they tried to tinker with it a little bit on exactly his mix. I think they wanted him to throw like a harder slider instead of this big spinny slider that he's kind of been known for. And, I think that coupled with a new division and new surroundings and all that, I guess it just didn't work out very well.
Good job, Yankees, trying to turn Sonny Gray into something that he's not. Great job,
right?
Yankees. Proud of you.
Right,
Damn.
But Sonny's also an interesting one because he's a smaller guy and he kind of has to do it a different way. And he's obviously had a great career and been really successful. It's just not every guy is 6'5", 240 pounds and can just throw fastballs, right? Like. Especially us smaller guys got to kind of figure some things out. And, if those get askew a little bit, it can get a little hairy.
A couple of things that you just mentioned that I know we're going to hit on in the next couple of weeks is, time at Vandy and like that place turning into a baseball power. And, we'll talk about that as we get into the NCAA baseball tournament. Also pitch mix. I know that, Peter wants to talk to you in the next couple of weeks about, how you've kind of altered your pitch mix over the seasons. Sonny, I think, is a great example. Another guy that's like not the biggest when you look belt and below, he is one of the biggest, and Spencer Strider, I mean, that dude takes better care of his lower half than like anybody I've ever seen. And the way he's doing it is so incredibly impressive, man. Like it's fastball all the time for strikes, slider all the time for strikes, and he's just bullying guys. What do you see when you watch Spencer Strider?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you first see him, right, it's the big fastball and the slider, and this year he's got the little changeup going too, which as time goes on, he's going to develop and have things other than fastball slider. But I think from a purely stuff standpoint, it's hard to argue that he's not one of the top five guys in terms of stuff, right? The fastball's huge and the slider's really good. And his delivery's super clean and just seems to know what he wants to do and doesn't really waver too much off of that. And having been around Clayton and watching guys that are able to do certain things extremely well over and over and over and kind of live and die by that, I think that's certainly what he's doing. And to go from a straight 2-pitch guy to now that changeup is developing, and that happened pretty quick. It wasn't like a 4-year process to find this little cutter that, like, he just showed up this year and had a really good changeup as well. So definitely one of my favorite guys to watch.
Strider has one of those fastballs that I feel like confuses hitters, not in the sense of, it's so fast. You're like, how did it get past me? It's more like it feels middle, and it is middle, but guys are just consistently swinging under it. Like I was watching his game against the Orioles last night, and Cedric Mullins swings through a couple of fastballs, and he kind of gives the confused look. Not like the angry look. He's just like, how the hell did I miss that? Like Taj Bradley was doing the same thing, got by Rafael Devers, and Devers looks at him, looks at the scoreboard. He's like, that looked 102, but I'm reading 95. It must be just that incredible life, which you also get on your fastball.
Yeah, at one point I had a lot of it, but we'll see. We're going to try and get that back. No, the only experience I've had with that, I've faced some guys that throw really hard, and like Herman Marquez is a guy that you barely can see it. Him and Zach Wheeler are probably the two guys that you just barely see the ball. But I remember the first time I ever faced Scherzer. He threw me a fastball down the middle, 0-0, first at bat, and I looked up, it was 96, and it didn't look that hard. Threw me a slider, then threw me a fastball up, and I swung, struck out like everyone does, and look up, and it was 96, and I swear to God, they've seemed 12 miles an hour different, the first and the second fastball. And I walked back into the dugout, and I told Doc, I said, listen, man, I have to hit the first pitch. I have no chance if I don't hit the first pitch. So the next at bat, I swung at the first pitch, flew out to right center. Like, that was my only shot. I took it. But yeah, there's something with release angle, all these analytics, like these things are real. Things change. These guys with low release points that still jump the ball, especially at velocity, it's so difficult.
Fly out to right as a pitcher. Did you count that as a moral victory, or do you need a base hit to feel good?
Oh, as long as I don't strike out, I feel pretty good about it.
Cool.
Yeah,
I got my one homer in the big leagues, and then after that it was kind of downhill from there. But no, we gave it a good try.
Another thing I got to ask you about in the next couple of weeks is pinch running. Like, dude, you pinch running on multiple instances is crazy to me. Two more guys that, I want your thoughts on here. Two of the younger guys, one in your division, one in the AL East. Shane McClanahan in Tampa, and Zach Gallen in Arizona. Gallen was on that crazy stretch, 28 scoreless innings. I mean, this guy has been on some sort of heater to start this year. And I'm curious, from your perspective, why has Gallen transformed into like this bona fide ace over the last season and change?
I think the most impressive thing about Gallen is I've seen him do it at 96 and I've seen him do it at 91, and it doesn't change what he does. And it seemingly doesn't change really like how the hitters react. Like he just commands the ball really well and holds the ball and messes with timing. And like before these new pickoff rules, he picked off more than anyone in baseball. And I think it was tough on hitters because he's always playing that kind of game with guys. And then obviously with his mix and really good changeup, commands 4 or 5 pitches now, especially the little cutter. And I just think it's hard to get on time against him.
Yeah. So these are Walker Buehler's top 5 pitchers right now. We have Sonny Gray. We have Zach Gallen. We have Shane McClanahan. 2 more. Who are you looking at?
Kirsch is up there for sure.
Yeah, hold on. He had Sonny. He had Strider.
Yeah.
Kershaw. If you threw 2 more in.
Yeah, I mean, McClanahan's got about as good stuff as anybody. It's hard, man. When DeGrom's healthy, it's kind of hard to bet against him. Cole is off to a good start this year. He's obviously been doing it at a pretty high level for a while. So, Scherzer still career-wise is one of the better guys we've ever seen. And I just think there's a lot of really, really high-quality guys in the league right now. Even the younger guys are coming up they're composed isn't the word, but they're like put together, right? You used to get guys come up and throw $1 million and they don't really know what's going on, or they're just out stuffing guys. But now guys are coming up and they have like these intricate pitch mixes and, throw pitches to both sides of the plate and can do things that, I think 25 years ago, rookies probably weren't doing.
Yeah. So speaking about crazy stuff, obviously Julio Urias has been that guy now for a while, but I turn on the TV every single time Dustin May is on the mound. Yeah. And what I've really liked about May this year is he's relying on that 4-seam a little bit more. Mm-hmm. It's like, don't get cute, man. Right. Like, you don't need to like be around the corners with cutters and sinkers. Just blow 100 by guys. Right. It has crazy life, and then he's spinning 3,200 RPM. Yeah. Curveballs. Like, what have you seen from Dustin May as he's taking that next step to show that he's an ace in this league?
Yeah. Dustin obviously he was figuring it out right before he got hurt. And so I think now he's got his feet back under him with the arm and the delivery and stuff. And now, last night he threw the ball really well, and you can see he's just got his feet under him again. So, we're all obviously really excited about where he is and where he's going. I think he can beat just about anybody in the game. It's hard to say anybody has better stuff than him. So now it's just him repeating it and doing it over and over and over and over, and hopefully doing it for a lot of years to come for us.
I think he will.
Walker Buehler, last one for you. Give me a guy, and I'm putting you on the spot here, but give me a guy that you think deserves more love on the Hill than what he gets.
I think Julio is probably the easy one for me on that. Just having seen the years he's put together, and obviously he's not quite where he wants to be this year so far, which he will figure out, and obviously he's extremely talented human, but he won 20 games. He's added 3 ERA he had last year. He takes the ball and he goes and wins and goes deep in games. And I don't really know why he doesn't get kind of the recognition, but outside of Sandy last year, like I don't think anyone had a better case than Julio to win the Cy Young. And I'm hoping I get to keep playing with him for a while. And he's a free agent after this year, so I hope he stays in LA.
I hope he does too. He just feels like a Dodger.
Right. No, I agree.
Been one since he was 18. Hey, Walker Buehler, you are the man. Appreciate you very much, and we'll talk.
Thanks, fellas.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Walker.
Thanks.